If you follow me on Twitter and you saw my thread today, this is gonna be about that. So if you're interested, you can watch. Otherwise, you know the gist. You can just do whatever. I don't know. Okay, so this is probably gonna be a decently long video. Probably not super long, but I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I don't know if I would say I have a lot of stuff to talk about. I have one thing to talk about a lot. Some of you may know, most of you know, if you've paid attention, that I have ADD, and it's pretty intense. I can function mostly in society day to day without my meds, but it's not great, and I can't be as productive at work most of the time that I'm not on my meds. If I realize that I didn't take my meds early enough in the day, I can kind of like muscle through it, but it's a lot fucking harder. So that means that I have a prescription that I take a pill every morning. And the way that cycle works is every 3 months I have a med check appointment with my doctor. And at this appointment, we like check in, make sure the meds are doing what they need to do. And then at the end of the appointment, he gives me 3 hard copy prescriptions for 30-day pills. And then each prescription has like a don't fill before this date, don't fill before this date, that are all a month apart. Because Vyvanse is like super controlled. Essentially, I'm microdosing meth. So they don't really want that medication to be easy to get. So he gives me these prescriptions, and you can't fill these prescriptions at the same time. So what I do, he hands me the physical prescriptions, and then I take them over to the pharmacy and give them to the pharmacist and say, hey, I want you to put these on file. And then they go into the file system and get saved, and they're just there. And then whenever I'm getting low, I call the pharmacy and say, hey, fill one of my prescriptions. Go, and they grab the oldest prescription or the one that needs to get filled now, and they just fill it. And then a day or two later, my pills are ready. So that's how it normally works. And that's been fine for years. I started taking pills the summer after 8th grade, summer 2014. And I started with one kind of med, and we took that for a couple of years, and then it was like, well, that's not really working very much anymore, and we've kind of maxed out how high we can go with that particular medicine. There weren't any higher doses, so then he switched me over to a different one, and we've been like working our way up there, and right now I'm sitting at the max dose that you can get in one pill of Vyvanse. And it just so happens that the pill itself is blue and orange. And that makes me so happy because, like, Broncos, I take Broncos pills every morning, and that's kind of dope. So for the last couple years, it's been that same system, and it just works. Back in January, I switched pharmacies to a CVS down the street because I switched from my parents' insurance over to my own insurance through my job, and the new insurance provider prefers that I use CVS. I don't know why, they just do. So like there's like my pharmacy like information card is CVS branded. So I figured, fuck it, it'll be simpler, right? Cue like a 2-week long fight to get my pill okayed through the insurance, during which point the CVS people were saying, we sent a request over to your doctor's office. They're gonna look at the request and then talk to the insurance people, and then once the insurance stuff comes through, then we'll get that to you. And then after a couple days and I didn't hear anything, called them up and was like, hey, what's going on? They're like, we don't know, we sent the thing to your doctor. Call my doctor, they didn't get anything. Call CVS and say they didn't get anything, so they send it again. And then I called the doctor back the next day and I'm like, hey, they said they sent it again. They're like, we don't have it. What's going on? So then I explain it to them. They're like, all right, cool, we'll just do it anyways. So they fill out all the paperwork, get it sent off. The insurance goes, oh, I mean, fine, sends it back. And then next thing I know, I have pills ready. No thanks to CVS at all. All they did was delay me calling my doctor for a bit. So that happens beginning of January. And I went and checked my bank records for this because this story gets so fucked. So I went and checked my bank statement, okay? January 18th, I went and picked up a prescription. February 19th, I had my med check with my doctor. So I go in, talk to him, he writes me the prescriptions, and I know he wrote me 3 because then I looked at it and was like, oh, I forgot to mention my insurance will let me do 1 90-day prescription now instead of 3 30-day prescriptions. And he was like, we'll talk about that next time since I already wrote these. And I was like, all right, sounds good. So I take the 3 prescriptions and I took them with me, checked out, whatever, went to CVS, dropped them off. And I know that I was at CVS that day because I checked my bank statements and I bought some candy or some shit, right? Spent like $6.30 something at CVS that day. So then February 25th, I pick up a prescription. That prescription that I picked up on February 25th was written in November of 2019. It was one of the last batch. When I shifted my stuff over from my grocery store to CVS, I brought over 2 prescriptions. One that I filled on the 18th of January and one that I filled on February 25th. In between those, on the 19th, I dropped off 3 prescriptions. So when I picked up a prescription on the 25th, there should have been 3 left on file, okay? So then on March 24th, I picked up another set of pills. At that point, that prescription was dropped off or put in the system or written, whatever, February 19th. So I have 2 pills left. So I called today and I'm like, hey, I want to fill one of my prescriptions that I have on file. We don't have any of those on file. To which I responded, what? What do you mean you don't have any of those on file? So I was like, okay, thank you. And then got off the phone, went and talked to my mom for a second. And she was like, that doesn't make sense. Call him back. So then I called him back and he was like, yeah, we don't have any of those on file. And he was like, okay, so then he looked at what had been filled and he was like, well, this one and this one, January and February, were written in November and March was written in February. And that was the only one that they have from February. So what happened was February 19th, I went to the doctor, got 3 30-day prescriptions, took those to CVS Pharmacy, handed them to the lady behind the counter, said, can you put these on file for me? And then 2 of them poofed into thin air. No clue where they went. They're gone. Of course, I didn't make this call until after I was done with work today. So it was like 5:30-ish, and then it was 5:45 when it was like, all right, fine, CVS isn't going to help at all. So I call my doctor's office because the guy at CVS, the pharmacist, said that I should call my doctor and see if they have record of writing 3 prescriptions on February 19th. And I'm like, fine. So I call my doctor, and it turns out that the doctor's office is closed for normal business hours at this point, and that the person on call should only be contacted for like urgent medical concerns and can't help with prescription refills. And I was like, well, shit. Guess I'm gonna have to wait till tomorrow. So tomorrow, I'm gonna have to call my doctor's office early and be like, hey, here's what's going on. CVS lost 60% of the prescriptions that I took them. No clue where they went, but my next doctor's appointment isn't until April 18th, and I am out of medication, so I need at least 1 more prescription that can get filled now, and hope that there aren't any major legal or red tape issues with writing another of these prescriptions, because they really don't like to write more than 3 of these prescriptions. That's why I have to go to the doctor every 3 months, because they're controlled enough that they need me to go to the doctor so the doctor can make sure that I still need to be taking them every 3 months.
Hello.
So, tomorrow, first thing, I need to call my doctor, be like, hey, CVS did a little fucky-wucky, and I need a new prescription. And then hope that they can write a new prescription, get it sent over to CVS, and then have CVS fill it tomorrow. All in the same day. I'm going to take tomorrow's pill, call my doctor, hopefully get everything figured out. I fucking doubt it. And then I'm going to take another pill the next day and need to be able to go pick up more pills that day. Otherwise, I'm kind of fucked Working from home is already hard enough, let alone working from home without my medication. That's going to be a nightmare. We'll see how that goes. I don't have high hopes, I'll be honest. I think I'm going to have to figure out something else for a few days. Lots of caffeine. Not going to get much sleep, probably. But you know what? Fuck it, right? But also, 3 months I've been at CVS, and so far have had a fuck ton of issues, including 60 days worth of my prescriptions just disappearing. That's a problem for me. Like, fucking yikes, dude. This wasn't what I was planning on making today's video about. I have a project file already started for a thing that happened with my RTX voice. It got really janky. But this is more important.